Welcome back to the PCS lower bracket finals as we just saw Beyond Gaming take down PSG in a bit of a surprise coming in here. Honestly, this is 6th seed versus 1st seed, but Beyond Gaming draw blood first. Before we go deeper into the matchup, a big shout out to our sponsors at CTBC Bank and of course China Airlines that just joined us. You're always welcome. Thank you for making the PCS what it is today. Now, Night Star, game 2, we have Beyond Gaming going over to the blue side. What changes and what stays the same? Oh, PSG, yes, you're right.
So there's going to definitely be a lot of priority put onto the Silas, and BYG, they should definitely expect this, right? And it'll be up to them to see what band they end up dropping for the Silas. Or if they just say, all right, we'll cut another one of the mid lane bands in order to just say, hey, you have to pick and choose between them because we'll take the other one.
Now, we did see in that draft, PSG actually left their mid lane pick to the second rotation, and Gory took a lot of bans. No Ari, no LeBlanc, no Talia, no Silas, no Azir, of course, and I mean, if you looked at the draft phase, there really weren't that many options left onto the table. So, my small question, and probably isn't that big of a surprise, but do you think Gory ever goes to the second rotation again this series?
No.
Well, okay, let's put that in. Let's write that down. Because I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen, and it should not happen, by the way. Please, Corgi, if you hear us, don't do this.
Yeah, and this might just put to the test Bury's champion pool, I suppose. But even then, you can put him on low econ stuff like a Zin, who can still have impact during the early game. But then if he does fall behind, he still serves a purpose later on in the game. He can still peel for Unified in the backline. As we're into picking bans game number 2, we'll see how the bans do shift up. But for PSG, seems like they're really set on banning away the Lucian and the Kalista, and that is going to put them in a bit of a bind when it comes to actually having functional bans.
It does seem like they just force themselves to pick Zeri here, doesn't it? I mean, they could still go for the Zeri, but it feels very weird to be banning all of this if you're going for the Zeri. They are going to pick up the Talia ban at the very end, so sticking to the exact same bans. And Beyond Gaming, as we kind of guessed, they don't even give him the silence. It's like, you know what, Gory, you look pretty good on Galio. Keep at it.
Yeah. It does mean, of course, the Ari left available, and they will go ahead and lock it in. For BYG, yeah, it is definitely a big pickup for Gory, being able to have a playmaker that isn't forced to full commit like a Galio would be. And BYG, they just answered back with PSG's first 2 picks. It was the Sivir and the Wukong. So a strong team fight setup. And we'll see how they develop the rest of the draft to really play around these 2 big tools in the Cyclone and on the Hunt.
Beyond Gaming trying to basically teach PSG how to play this comp. PSG in the meantime are going to go with the Zeri. Very expected ban here. Now we need to see if they want to go for something like the Nautilus, or they're going to be looking at the Poppy here. Okay, a much better champion for Bury, in my opinion. And Beyond Gaming, let's see what they answer back with. They still have the top lane to put very, very late into the draft, but their mid lane might be an issue. You know, Minji is not one of those guys that has a huge mid lane pool either, so see if he picks something up. Gonna go with the Lissandra.
Lissandra pickup plays well with what the side of BYG do want to do. Also, very simplistic champion to play into Ari. If she dashes in, you just press R onto her and she doesn't get to play the game. So I like this setup coming in from BYG, but it does feel somewhat similar to what we saw in the previous game from PSG, right? Somewhat low damage mid laner with the Lissandra. They have to really attack this early mid game to be able to fully capitalize around it, as if we're going to see top lane bans, and for sure Fiora won't ever get to come out again if it does get left through into the second phase.
If they're gonna ban the Fiora, I almost feel like you have to throw the Camille in there as well. That's only reasonable to expect here from PSG. Lika actually made a name for himself on the Camille, so I'm ticking out. Let's see if PSG do decide to go for that one. But in the meantime, Beyond Gaming banning away the Alistar. Love this ban. It really slows down these champions from the Sivir and the Wukong. And there goes the Camille ban. Let's see what Lekai has in the bag. Aatrox is going to get through the pick ban phase, though. Here we go.
Oh, those just get snapped up. And for PSG, it does mean that you are able to play something like the Gnar this time around without getting hard punished. Of course, into the Aatrox, it can still happen, but the lane phase and scaling wise won't be as big of an issue this time around if they do opt for that pick. We'll be back to the Rakan, but this time it will be the side of PSG snapping up. So picks being exchanged here, and this is probably not going to happen.
Really? I mean, the Ornn is there, but that's not a great matchup. The Gnar's available. I don't like the Gnar much either. I feel like PSG's comp is so... It's very kitey, but not all that powerful. They're still going to go with it. So they've set their sights onto it, and now Beyond Gaming have to go with a support. Probably something with strong engage. Nautilus is still up. Leono's there, and a Mumu is going to get locked in.
A lot of wombo potential coming in from the side of PSG, and this time it does feel like the roles have sort of reversed. PSG not insanely strong scaling composition that we saw from BYG, but they do have the tools to slow play these fights. And I think that was one of the big things that we didn't get to see come to fruition in game number 1, was that if they were slow on the trigger, they were just going to lose. This time around, they have ways to slow play the fights and then turn it on its head with the Ahri playmaking, the Poppy playmaking, and also, of course, the Mega Gnar once that does come through. So this feels much more in PSG's wheelhouse, being able to take things a little bit more measured.
They do have the Zeri. That's always going to be a win condition, and everyone else just peels and kites for Unified. So this is a much more familiar composition from PSG, like you mentioned. I think they can pilot this one well. But on the other hand, for Beyond Gaming, we've also seen a fair bit of their Sivir gameplay. I want you to give me your opinion of how they do with this Wombo combo comp.
For this composition from the side of BYG, it's going to be predicated on when the Mega Gnar timings come through, because that's really the only hard disengage that can stop them. Unless if Bury hits a massive Keeper's Verdict, there's really nothing stopping the side of BYG from just running at them and forcing the issue with a Mumu, with Lissandra, with Wukong. There's so much engaged potential to take advantage of the extra movement speed.
We are coming into game 2, and Beyond Gaming might be shocking us with a potential upset in terms of the seeding. Of course, they did come into the lower bracket a little bit further ahead of PSG. They went all the way to the winners finals. Now we have game 2 going on. Let's see if we have any level 1 plays being made right here. It looks very calm across the board. And in the top lane, we've got the Comet coming up against the Gnar. We've seen this a couple times yesterday from Leaky. It wasn't so successful in the team fights.
Yeah, the Comet's going to be much more lane-oriented. You also spec into the Eclipse build, which brings in a lot more 1v1 side lane damage, but maybe not as strong when it comes to these team fights, right? You're not getting the extra sustain and damage potential coming in from something like Conquer in team fights. So it will be very reliant on Lekai being able to leverage his advantages in that side lane. We're going to see Kino show his face into the mid lane, really say, hey, Gory, we have our eyes onto you. We're going to stop you at all costs from really caring and having those 1v9 moments.
We did see Kino try to sweep early for a ward there. Doesn't find it. Kaiwing spots him the entire time and then drops the ward after the scan is over. Both sides know that ward is there. I would still say a small moral victory there for Kaiwing. Does force out Kino. And we are going to get a bit of a scuffle here. Bone plating on Kino. He's looking for a level 1, but actually takes the worst side of that trade. For kind of very strong early levels is something that people often misjudge. And oh, go ahead.
What is cool is, of course, the Amumu pick into the Zeri, right? Because Amumu, with his E passive, is able to neutralize a lot of Zeri's early damage because of the several instances coming out from her burst fire, right? So all those little stacks or little bullets do count as different instances of damage, and Amumu actually able to just constantly nullify extra damage from each of those.
Mumu also just packing so much crowd control. I love the amount of like AoE CC here. You don't have to be pinpoint accurate to snag Unified on a lot of these, so very well-rounded comp from Beyond Gaming. We're going to take a look at the jungle pathing so far. And it doesn't like Husha can head up towards the top lane. Nabi faking a ward drop. Actually, had a ward dropped a little bit earlier there, so let's see if Beyond Gaming do get the correct timing onto this one. Meanwhile, both of the junglers are going to get their first meet in the river here. Husha, I think, suspects that Bury is there. Let's spot him now. In comes a charge, but no stun, and Husha just walks out.
But it will be Bury being able to secure that top crab, as now BYG turning their attention towards this bottom crab to at least deny the double crab start. And Bury, this time around, he's the one able to walk into the jungle of BYG. And this is
very
important
aggressive.
Because when Husha gets to do his thing, he's always in the jungle. Remember, that is BYG's playstyle. Then they can play super aggressive with all their laners because they don't have to worry about a jungler making their way over. So I like the initial adjustment coming in from PSG and Bury. They just have to maintain that pace.
Well, both of these bot laners are trying to fake out. The supports are on the side, but they don't know about each other's presence. Oh, okay, they say hello in the middle of the lane, and everyone goes back to their battle lines here. In the meantime, we do have, like you were mentioning, PSG with a great force onto Likai. He's down in terms of HP. The wards are plentiful on that top side, so Likai is going to get a much, much slower start compared to game 1 here. Where do you expect the first instances of action to be happening here on the map?
Well, our first dragon is going to be Ocean, so I don't think the fight is going to happen around that first Ocean Dragon. I think it will happen around the first Rift Herald. Instead, as BYG, they should really look to target that, try and funnel in extra gold for either the Aatrox or the Sivir in this instance. And for the side of PSG, maybe you try and funnel more gold into Gory.
In comes Bury here. Let's see if he gets the angle. Nope, isn't going to be able to find the knockback. But yeah, that's Midji going back without a TP. A lot of time being earned here. And in the meantime, Nabi sitting on that good lead. Is a lot closer to 6 here as well. So Likai has to be careful just running into him. While Husha going to try and get something back. He doesn't have the smite here, so has to play this. He actually fakes out the steadfast presence, but Bury collects his due amount of gold anyway.
Yeah, Bury doing a much better job keeping Husha down. And if this game does go in favor of the side of PSG, perhaps, okay, bit of a trade.
We do have the second bandage shots going in.
Ignite
going through. Wako still chasing on to this one, and it is going to be cleanse for cleanse, ignite for ignite. Beyond Gaming get to stay in lane, so a little bit better from their part, and they're also threatening with the mid jungle roam into the bot side. A very well timed aggression here.
Yeah, with the recall, it means that the side of BYG should be able to snag themselves both the crab and maybe a plate. It does look like they will reset without taking the plate, but it's still a little bit of extra gold coming into their pockets and getting a slightly better reset. So they will have damage advantage with the completed Newton Quiver in comparison to the tier 2 boots and longsword on the side of Unified. So he'll be able to kite out these fights, but he's really going to need that extra move speed because of the amount of bandage tosses Kino will be looking to toss his way.
Hey, still don't have any blood on the table so far. LPL Clement in me is getting a little bit angsty. I need blood for the blood god. Skulls for the skull throne, and here we go. Kino gets tagged up by the bandage toss, but he's going to be able to escape relatively easily. Excuse me, I meant Unified right there. Just going over the wall like that. And they are out from that one, but we do see Beyond Gaming starting to converge here. They do have a decided crowd control advantage, at least when it comes to these 4-man skirmishes. And now they have full control of the bot lane river.
And we'll most likely see BYG sort of play things a little bit slower down in this bottom lane, knowing that, hey, Wako, he has his call almost fully stacked. So we're going to have a big spike coming in pretty soon, as they will also get their hands onto that first dragon. Again, it is Ocean, so for the side of PSG, it's not a big loss. For BYG, it is necessary to try and get things stacking early on, right? Because they do have a bit of a timer with this Wombo-centric composition, so they really need to try and force the issue by getting that dragon stacking.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the scaling because I feel like this game isn't all that clear-cut overall. In the meantime, PSG heading for the Herald, but this is going to get pinged out very early on by Husha. He's waiting here already. Minji's going to have to take a while to get his way over here, and PSG very cleverly are pulling the Herald away from the objective. There is still a numbers advantage here, and it doesn't look like Beyond Gaming are going to find an angle. So first Herald going over to Bury.
Great move coming in from PSG, answering on the other side of the map. Like that look from them. As I mentioned earlier, Rift Herald, they would love to get that going for them. And for BYG, they focus their attention on trying to get the dragon stacks going. And right now, the sore point in this game is just that Gory and Hanabi are pretty far ahead of their respective lane opponents up in those solo lanes, whereas on the flip side for BYG, it's really all about Wako having the call about to be popped, having the extra slight CS advantage. It's all about this Sivir acceleration, and PSG this time around they'll be able to play a little of these side lane 1-3-1 sort of setups, at least until the side of BYG start catching up in those solo lanes.
Gory not having a fun time as Minji interrupts his second back with the glacial path. Some cheeky plays happening across the map here and there. And we do have Wako, not rooting for the call, actually goes back earlier on. And we still have not seen a drop of blood on the map. This is making me very, very angsty. This is not the League of Legends I enjoy. But we'll see what happens. A huge CS lead in the top lane. I do want to mention this one. Hanabi, 22 CS up on his opponent.
And this is a pretty familiar matchup, right? You're playing the Gnar into the Aatrox. Aatrox definitely one of those champions that Hanabi has seen a lot of in his player career.
Straight flashes over there, and Amumu comes to join the fray. That's going to be first blood. What a ballsy play right in front of Gory. He doesn't have time to react. He sees the monkey and is like, what? He just flashed over the wall, and he's gone.
This is a difference of decisiveness. Clement, BYG, they understand they have to try and force the issue, which is why even though PSG had this composition before and we were really harping on it, that's also why I do like BYG with this lineup, because Husha does understand when he has to force the issue or when he does have to go, and that was a moment where they pulled the trigger and it succeeds very, very well. It will be flash burned by Husha, and Gory will have his flash up still, but a very, very well executed gank.
I think Gory was just stunned that that play was happening. He sees Husha and he
Okay.
doesn't immediately react. He doesn't actually try to ult or flash. And I think that ends up being a mistake here.
Yeah, definitely surprised by the flash, but also having teammates coming around with Kaiwing and Bury nearby. He probably thought, oh, there's no way they can just burst me out like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't true, because the Mumu coming over the wall with the Ignite also contributing a ton of damage to finish off that kill before help could arrive.
Mummy Kid beats Fox Lady any day, in my book for that, sure. Guess she gonna get something out of their bot side, steal away a blue buff, and we have a ring of vision around their bottom lane, so making really certain that they can keep Unified alive. I think that's the one that they're banking on here. Meanwhile, Hanabi still extending his lead into the top side. Lika has just been having a completely quiet game so far, and I'm not so sure about this Eclipse. Aatrox. It does feel like you need to give him some help at times. Like, he's not a champion that automatically wins a lane.
Yeah, definitely needs a little bit of aid up in that top side. And it's really just waiting for that first item to come through, because he didn't opt for the Vamp Scepter. Instead, he opted for the Serrated Dirk to try and get additional poke
setting
damage.
up a trap here, but Minji actually
going
goes in.
Okay.
What? Oh, Birdie with a great stop there, but we have a Spider-Man back, and Kino gets a 3-man first of the Sad Mummy. In goes the cycle, but not able to finish off anyone just yet. Aatrox comes in, and Bury, the last auto attack flashing from Minji, gets the kill. What a turn of events, just completely befuddling PSG. Look at that smile on Betty.
And it's BYG that pulled the trigger, and they commit to the play. Even though it looked a little bit scuffed coming in from Mindy being so far away from his team, he knows he can buy so much time. Having the CC, also having the self-ultimate. And of course, Kino with the follow-up bandage toss, that really sort of sealed the deal here in making sure they could actually fully execute the round of play, because if this bandage toss doesn't land, then he isn't able to go forward flash and set things up for Husha afterwards. But the interaction happens, I suppose. There's really no other way to describe it besides, well, it happened. And as a result, BYG come out with a kill and the second dragon, and it's going to be Mountain Soul on the table. This is not good for PSG, because unlike that game number 1 where BYG only had to play around Cloud Soul, the side of PSG are playing on a bit of a timer because of the fact there's those extra stats already coming in with the Inferno Dragon, but now they have to combat a combat soul.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough. Like, the engage is going to be so easy for Beyond Gaming if they get that mountain. Now we finally have PSG getting Hanabi into the fight. This is their strongest point on the map. They have him there, but Kaiwing, well, he even keeps his quickness, so that was actually decently well done. Let's see if Kino can find something else, but Beyond Gaming are going to take over the inside track here. It's going to be a 1-4 defense, and this is going to be tough for Gory to hold this one in. Everfrost goes for wave clear, Nabi coming in, and they make out just okay.
It's just tower damage mid in exchange for tower damage bot lane. When it comes to exchanging tower damage, I do think it is in favor of BYG, but PSG also were able to get the second Rift Herald. So a little bit extra gold coming into their pockets because of the buff on local gold. But what will be key for them is just trying to break this mid tower, because against Sivir, that is a very tough task. And So they just immediately throw it down. It's been 2 Rift Heralds straight into the mid lane. And off the back of those 2 Rift Heralds, they are able to break that tower.
Yep, they will get the first tower of the game right here, so a bit of extra gold. But they don't actually try to fork any of the objectives with that one. Beyond Gaming are still going to be decently okay, just walking back into mid lane. And we are getting up for a tense moment. The gold is completely even. I really want to see PSG and how they can do with Hanabi in the fray. I think that seems to be the biggest point. The bot lane side of the map is actually losing in gold a bit more than you would like to expect because Hanabi is that far ahead. So, I feel like Hanabi has had such a quiet postseason, and this would be the game for him to shine. If there ever was a game, this is it.
Yeah, this is definitely his moment. Has the advantage up top side. In fact, we're going to see Lee Kai give up that wave at that top turret.
Yeah, actually a bit of a mystery, but Kino's going in onto Bury. They get both with the Cyclone, not enough damage to go through. Bury coming in with the charm. Kino falling dangerously low, but it will be Bury that falls down first. At least we do have the TP coming in from Lee Kai, so if they can shove this wave in, Bury might be in a bit of trouble here. Kino's still trying to bait. Kino, I'd be careful about this if I were you, but in he goes, and Lee Kai is going to start the tank. Pops into stasis, but there's nowhere for Glory to go. He just gets tagged down. Bobby W coming in from Lissandra, and it will be tower traded for 2 extra kills on the side of Beyond Gaming. Actually, PSG also get 2 towers for that one, so not a complete, not a complete gold sink there.
It's just the one, right? Because top lane or mid lane did go down earlier to the Rift Herald, but with 40 seconds left until the next dragon, we take a look at these ultimates. Like BYG, there is a timing window where PSG are able to engage before these ultimates come back up, and that might give them the numbers advantage to then turn for the dragon. Because when you look at the gold, the gold's not outside the realm. Like PSG, they can definitely take this fight. They just have to be once more decisive around it. Otherwise, things will slowly get worse and worse. Hanabi, he is insanely strong with this Triforce completed. If he goes in with the Mega Gnar, he can just 2-tap some folks on the side of BYG. So they need to leverage that timing window, and they get Mega Gnar, but Hanabi is about to have that expire.
Yeah, so he can't really fight with this one, and into mini he goes here. I think both sides have incentives to draw this one out. Wait for ultimates to get their mini Gnar back, so it might be
all ults back up now.
Alright, could be any moment to strike here. It is getting very tense. Beyond Gaming going over the ramp, but taking a lot of damage in the meantime. Not really that much, actually. Just one boomerang would be fine. And Lee Kai trying to find an angle into the backline. It's going to be hard for him to walk over Bury, so perhaps he wants to find a better angle in this one. Both sides just continuing to fish. It's getting very tense here. Beyond Gaming are going to start this one.
Hanabi.
Yeah, they see the Gnar. And Hanabi gets caught in the middle of nowhere. In goes the Boomerang Blade. The Cyclone goes through. Hanabi cannot find his Mega Gnar. And he gets it just in time. And down goes the Smite. PSG with their top laner. They get a successful bait. It burnt a ton of ultimates in that one. And now they're heading back for the objective.
Bit of an overforce coming in from BYG.
Now lands onto Kino. He has to burn his ultimate. Unified goes in, but that might be a little bit too far. He goes down to the grid, and Wako is in to finish people off. Bury managed to send Aatrox back, but he goes down anyway. Wako's still trying to keep alive inside the pit against 2 solo laners. He's not going to be able to do it. Lee Kai comes in. Let's see if they can finish on Hanabi. Hanabi kind of close to Mega Mini Gnar, but he doesn't find it. And Migi goes back in for more. He's going to die. But at least he gets the flash from Gory. A big, whopping fight from both sides. That was a 4-for-4 trade after everything all said and done.
Kills exchanges all across the board. But BYG, they have the respawn on their jungler. Husha, the first one to go down. is going to be the ultimate winner of this fight, because he will be back in time for this dragon, and now it sort of resets the situation. We'll see if PSG are able to stall long enough for Bury to get back here. BYG do start it out. Ults are sort of back up.
Yeah, Minji definitely has it. The TP is going to come in, but the Sivir is going to take a while to make it to the
again.
battlefield. Oh, I love this back-to-back fights going in here.
Wako has
the
ult.
quickness not here just yet, and neither is the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Can't force their way in just yet. Oh, they find a massive W. Minji very low, but the Drake is going to go over to the other side. Minji has to ult himself into this one. It looks like they're just going to, they're just going to leave their mid laner to his own.
We gotta get out though.
Manages out to back, but Wako's gonna turn it around. Gory actually falls down to the crit. That was a great bandage shot, and now Husha is in the backline. Unify gets tagged up by the uproll, and the bandage shot finds him. That's gonna be the main damage killer down.
Megadar.
Hanabi comes in. Can he find the kill? Can he clean everything up here? It's gonna be a 2v1 at the very finish. Hanabi already with the double, looking for the triple, but he can't get past Kai. Benny watching his team as they clean the ace, and Beyond Gaming with another turn in the team fight. Both of these instances, it looked like they have already lost, but they turn it around as PSG overforced.
It looks like the plan was just to get the dragon and get out, right? From the side of BYG. Minji gets caught out, has to use the self-ultimate, and it looks like it was a situation where, hey, if we lose our Lissandra engage tool, then we'll just leave. But we'll see in probably the second replay, as this is the first replay. This is the initial engage onto Hanabi. I like the idea. Unfortunately, Hanabi really far ahead, so he doesn't get one shot. And because of that, able to get the Mega Gnar transformation. They kill Husha at the start of it, but this is where things go really wayside, right? This is very messy fights. Kino gets caught out by the charm, but able to at least get the ultimate down. And because there's so many cooldowns being eaten up by that front line, Wako is able to get some nice autos in to really turn the tides of that fight. But then Hanabi, of course, like, this man's so fed, he does so much damage, and in the end, he will go down, but the situation resets, and this is the fight that really goes poorly for the side of PSG. They don't get the stun onto Wako, and because of that, he still has the spell shield up available to eat the CC from the charm. And that miss is really unfortunate, because if they're able to kill Wako earlier on in the fight, this is a much different story, as I think he got a triple kill in that fight, and that is not what you want to see for a Sivir.
Yeah, the Sivir is going to be really painful in the backside of PSG right there. I just marvel at the way Beyond Gaming played with the ramp in both of these fights. That was just so beautiful. They focused on the target that oversteps. The first time it was Unifying that gets sniped out. The second time it was Gory. And PSG are just not a team that has a lot of damage sources. You take either of them down, the team fight almost instantly goes in favor of Beyond Gaming, you know? Beyond Gaming can lose Minji, but still come back. I don't think that's true on the side of PSG.
Hanabi is building a lot of damage though, right?
Oh, that's true.
You look at his build, he's got the Triforce, also has the Chainsword completed, and looking for the Serix Gauge, maybe even the Hull Breaker. And that could be actually a pretty big purchase if he gets onto 3 islands, because you look at how much gold is invested into him, and they need a big win condition. Yeah. Perhaps Hull Breaker Gnar would be the win condition in that regard, being able to leverage these side lanes with how much damage he does have and how far ahead of the curve he is against Lee Kai.
Does look like we're setting up for this Mountain Drake. So far, Beyond Gaming with all 3 Drakes in this game. It's going to come down to a lot of this fight setup. You also have the Baron in play as well now, so there's a couple ways that PSG could fight this, but Beyond Gaming definitely going to look a lot more for this Mountain.
That's a Serix Gauge.
Lee Kai setting it already. Alright, so we're not going to get the Hull Breaker shenanigans. Still going for more of a teamfight angle here coming from Hanabi.
Still
Both
very
sides.
fed though. It's
That is true.
completed
Three items. Oof. Come on, Hanabi. It's your time to carry. You know, so far it's just been gory and unified. Maybe
He needs to turn back time. Go back to Spring Hanabi, where he was really just one of the main carries of the squad. Haven't seen him since in this summer split. Remember what's on the line here. It's Soul.
Wako. That's huge. Cleanse goes down. Let's see if Beyond Gaming are just going to start this one directly. Hanabi's still a bit away from Meganar here. He's going to take a while to actually get all the way up, but it doesn't look like Beyond Gaming fancy their chances being stuck inside that Mountain Drake pit either. Both sides are trying to envelop each other, and again, they're trying to find Hanabi. An interesting tactic here. Minji actually hiding with brushes. Let's see if this one works. A huge Ultra Shock Laser. They do spot out Gory here, so a very spread out fight. Let's see if Hanabi can actually make his way into this one. I think that's what both sides are kind of banking on at this point. Gory charging up the Keeper's Verdict. Can he find any targets? Does get Husha, so no smite in this fight. And they do charge around for Hino. Wako also getting exhausted starting there, but that's going to be a three-man Curse of the Sad Mummy. Hanabi does get his ultimate onto one. The fight is very spread out. Support going down. Hino already dead. Gory goes in for Wako. He's charging him down. 650 shut down. And PSG gonna go for the Baron right after this one.
They get the fight. They get the dragon. They get 2 kills on top of it. And now possibly turning their attention towards the Baron. I don't think they'll actually pull the trigger on the Baron buff. Maybe just try and threaten it. Okay.
Does look like
he has come in from Gory. And it does look like they are going to start it on a ward. So there's full knowledge from the side of BYG that they are going for it. And now Husha. Is it going to come down to a 50-50?
Yeah, he has to get there with the clone, but this is so difficult. He's not fast enough, and the Baron goes directly over to PSG. A little bit mistimed on the side here. And a massive win. Now you have PSG firmly in the gold control now, and able to push down a couple towers. This is a very surprising turn of events. A great team fighting coming in for Bury, just landing those targets.
A key ultimate landed by Bury evicts Husha from the fight, and that allows them to turn for the dragon and also take the fight because the main engage is coming in from Husha. And the other important factor of that fight we'll get to see in the replay is that Wako ended up being split from the rest of his squad, so they weren't able to play front to back, but this is a fight with no objectives up available.
Beyond Gaming actually have the numbers here, and we do see everyone from PSG collapsing in. It's still very possible that Beyond Gaming will get that Mountain Soul this game, and it does seem like they're going to be playing more towards the bottom side, trying to wrestle control. As PSG looking for somewhere to push down with this Baron buff. Most of the minion waves are still a ways off from the tower, though, so it does seem like PSG, Beyond Gaming, like running down the clock quite nicely. Only 140 left on the Baron now.
Yep. Not a lot of time left on the Baron, and for PSG, their siege, or their ability to take towers isn't that good. They don't have quite the range to do so, so they're going to be very reliant on these minion waves, on that empowered cannon minion to do damage to the tower for them, because Wako will be able to clear out these Baron minions pretty easily with that extra ricochet damage.
Infinity Edge done for the Zeri. We just saw a 700 damage burst across Minji's face. This is what PSG were waiting for. They were waiting for the Zeri moment to come through. They're getting a pan over here. Let's see if there's some wards or shenanigans. And we are going to get engaged in the top side. Hanabi doesn't see this. In goes Husha. They have spotted Gord, but no, they escort him out. Leakai has to pop directly into the stasis, and he's trying to flash away. But
he's healing so much, though.
Down. Can he get away? He still has the X-Streaker, but doesn't get over the wall, and he's surrounded and killed.
A great pick coming in from the side of PSG, being able to find the top laner of BYG. And this time around, Leakai hasn't been as effective because of the play coming in from Bury. This is a jungler we heavily criticized in game number 1. In game number 2, he has bounced back into strong way, shutting down Husha. The best way is just kicking him out of the fight entirely, using those keeper verdicts, and shutting down, again, the main engage, power coming in from BYG. And it's changed the scope of these fights. Without that extra CC power coming in from the Cyclone, it's allowed the side of PSG to turn all their attention on attacking these more core members of the team fight in this Aatrox or in this Sivir.
Yeah, I'm not particularly convinced about the Aatrox flank. That looked a little bit weak in my eyes. No real hard crowd control. Beyond Gaming, they definitely need to corral PSG a little bit better if they want to pull that off again. But looking across the items right here, wow, Hanabi is so fed at this point, rocking over 3,000 HP. He's got 2 defensive items already built up. I don't see Beyond Gaming bursting through this Mega Gnar anytime soon.
And this is a pretty aggressive teleport, maybe using Minji as a bait. And the big thing here is it's very similar to what we saw in game number 1, where Minji on this Lissandra
Hanabi is going to be started on, but he barely takes a dent right there, as Beyond Gaming now forced to go the long way across. They do have a ward on Gory, just trying to split this one up. Okay, waiting for it to go down now. Meanwhile, just doing some poke. Not really damaging Bury. Look at how thick that shield is. Beyond Gaming actually
go now.
Yeah, they're toying with danger here. They're really pulling this one far out. Kino misses the bandage toss. Now Hanabi doesn't have the Mega Gnar anymore. He's trying to rejoin this one. Bury gets caught out on the side. Not a huge issue for him.
Verdict's still up.
Yeah, they could still look for that Husha Sendo, but they're going to start onto Unified in this one. He cleanses away, survives, but goes down to the Ricochet. Gory also facing some trouble in the Baron Pit. It's going to be a 5v3 after this one. Hanabi still not in Mega Gnar, and Gory has to walk away, but Gory gets an outside kill from Minji. Let's see if he can turn this one around. The jungler is still here for Bury. He's hovering on the sides here. They could still look for a re-engage. In goes Bury.
Turn onto him.
Can he make his way into this Drake? If he doesn't find the Spice Spiel, Beyond Gaming is going to get this Mountain Drake steal. Oh, he gets escorted away by the Umbral chains, and it will be Beyond Gaming that secures the Bounce in the end. What a good find by Husha.
And BYG, they play that fight so perfectly because they're able to zone Bury off of it, and Husha knows that this is his time to carry. We see the replay. Bury starts pathing towards downwards towards that tri-bush, and because they jump on him and engage, all of a sudden he is split. He wants to be with his team. At this point, you should just flash over the wall because it gives them the opportunity to do this to Unified. Instantly, Husha goes in, gets engaged onto Unified. He goes down. That's a lot of their team fight damage eliminated. And BYG take the rest of the fight. They get the dragon soul. That may be enough to remedy some of the damage issues they are going to have from that mid lane.
That was a 6,000 gold difference into the team fight, and Beyond Gaming just found the perfect moments when Bury wasn't in the front line, when Mega Gnar wasn't there, and they pulled off the incredible. Yeah, I'm so flabbergasted that was actually the case, and now I don't think the gold lead actually matters all that much because of that Mountain Soul there. You know, the damage is very deceptive, but it's going to be hard to punch through some of these targets, even though there aren't that many tanks, to be fair, on the side of Beyond Gaming. So, you know, not getting that much amount of value, but definitely still going to take a while for PSG to punch through.
Still a lot of resistances being built up, though, right?
Yeah.
You have these steel cap boots built by quite a few members. You also have resistance items being built up here, as will be posturing around this Baron area. Side of BYG, they know they don't need to go in. Oh!
the engage from Kino. They trade sides. Bury goes down first because of the zoning from Likai. And now they are focusing down onto the Meganar. The battle lines are shifting. Hanabi gets away with this one. Ricochet almost goes across.
Wako's taking the 1v1!
Wako gonna go straight for the mid laner. Both of them Zagas at the same time, but this could be a mistake. Wako doesn't find the mark, and Unified is alive with the red buff to escort everyone away.
A huge mistake coming in from Wako as he gives up his life trying to take the 1v1 against Gory. That will reset the situation, and PSG have an opportunity to regain control over the map. They still have a gold lead, so we'll get to see the replay. Vanish Toss lands, but because the follow-up isn't quite there, they aren't able to instantly turn, but Wako is there, and he's just pumping out so much damage in this fight. And the turn from BYG, it looks like they could just wipe and finish the game from here, but Wako out on a mission.
To the left. If he went to the left, I think he could have cleaned house.
That could have just been game. That should have been game, but because of his pathing choices, trying to send a message.
Gonna go over to PSG, so we find ourselves in the same straits again. PSG up 6,000 gold with the Baron in hand, and oh boy, that was Wako syndrome if I ever saw it. that was very close to being too low. We'll see what happens afterwards. Bury actually gets caught back by the Umbral chains here. It's gonna have to flash out, so keep our eyes onto that one. But you know, taking stock of the situation, I still want to mention that it's still incredibly hard for Beyond Gaming to punch through either Bury or Hanabi.
Yep.
I think these two targets should be relatively safe, and all of these fights, honestly, I feel like PSG should be on the tipping point where if they just click the ground, they should win. Minji getting caught out on the side right here. Bury gonna try to play zone away, but Unified is getting caught down. The crowd control is on his face. He's got nowhere to go.
It's so split.
Gonna go through. Hanabi still trying to keep himself alive, and Minji gets out. It's gonna be Unified.
Wako's untouched.
Still gets across the board, but the Badger Tots finds him. Both teams are trading sides at this point. Bury trying to run away, but Likai is on his heels. He can't find the Q3. Mid lane tower is gonna go down, and what an amazing trade. Unified, I'm not sure if he had flash into that one, but a decisive turn by Beyond Gaming. Make sure they win this fight.
And that's been the difference between BYG and PSG. PSG not going for these 50-50s, whereas BYG are very determined to snag any sort of opening offer to them to go for the engage. Wako
might be taking a lot of damage here, and things are getting really feisty. That charge lands onto Minji. A little bit unfortunate for him. Let's see it.
Elder on the run.
Out here. And we do have the Elder in 49 seconds, so I think Beyond Gaming just playing for a safe retreat right here, but we do have a back teleport forward. Gory could find an opportunity here, but doesn't look like he's going to take it.
BYG going for the reset. They've closed the gold lead to 3,500. That pretty much resets the full situation to what it was before the Baron got taken. And now they have the extra dragon stats to help them out for this last fight, even though maybe the scaling isn't fully on their side. But for PSG, I mean, it's about them being stuck in their decision making. They have to be more decisive. They have to just go in some of these situations, and they need to find a way to keep Unified alive. They need to figure out how to protect them, because so far, Bury and Unified are not on the same page. When we saw earlier their success, because Bury's been able to protect Unified with that Keeper's Verdict.
Beyond Gaming trying to look for a fight here, but they're 4v5 coming into this one. The teleport has to be shown. Oh, it's a 4-man into the backline. Unified Wako is just going to go down. Wako is going to find the kill onto the backline. Carry and Meganar wasn't there. It was a 4v5, but it ends up being disaster for PSG. Elder wide open. Bury dead. Kino with the 4-man curse of the sad mummy. Stops PSG in their tracks. Oh, and Likai going forward on into this one. They find Gory. He's got nowhere to go. He still has a flash indoor. But no, the timing there, impeccable from Kino. The support wins it for Beyond Gaming. They're going to charge forward into a 2-for-0 against PSG.
Beyond Gaming with Worlds on the line are now 1 game away from coming to NA for Worlds. So close to booking their ticket. Then for PSG, they are now backs against the wall, demanding a reverse sweep to get back to Worlds and to go to the finals.
Can you spell clutch with me? Beyond Gaming win a 5v4 start of the fight, down 4,000 gold, and they do it not once, but twice. A very dicey game for Beyond Gaming, but I'm just at a loss for words. They just seem to strike first in every single situation. Their decisiveness, their focus, unified. He didn't have a shot in this game. He just couldn't find those opportunities for him to dish damage.
Yeah, and for the side of PSG, the draft was an improvement in this situation. But when you see the Aatrox come out so early, I thought for sure we'd go for some sort of big tank to just sit in front of Unified and just play a very simple front-to-back composition. That was not to be. And in theory, it was still a fine composition to play. And Bury, at the start, the early team fights, did really well. Able to constantly evict Husha out of these team fights, clear space for Unified to have free time to dish out damage, whereas on the flip side, Wako wasn't able to. But as the game progressed, because of the decisiveness coming in from BYG, they really shifted how much free time each of these AD carries had to dish out damage, because then it was Wako that had so much space, and on the flip side, it was Unified that constantly had people in his face.
It was so weird because we got to the point where if it was a front to back, you had Bury and a fed Hanabi right there, and there was no way that Unified is supposed to get touched here. If we think about the way the fights happened, one time it was Bury, going on a journey, Hanabi with no rage bar, and the second time PSG kind of threw everything themselves. They just kind of like, yeah, we'll take a 3-man catch on Minji, and Minji survives while Unified dies. I want to call this game the bondage monkey. I think this is how they won. They basically just trapped Zeri, never let her deal damage, and oh boy, it was frustrating to watch, but so well played. Frustrating for Unified, of course, but so well played on the side of Beyond.
Yeah, and if you look at the draft, this was an angle where they could have gone for an Ornn or a Scion. If they go for Ornn, a lot of terrain control coming in, and just offering that front to back capability even more so, but also offering some long range engage power without being reliant on the Mega Gnar being available. Yeah. And that was the core issue in this particular game. PSG weren't fully decisive enough to take advantage of the small windows a Gnar ultimate would have, right? Because if you wait for the Mega Gnar to time out, then you're running down one ultimate on the side of PSG, and unfortunately that situation happened way too often.
Yeah, what we saw in these fights over and over again was just that, PSG decide, hey, maybe we have a numbers advantage, maybe we should go now, and it kind of gets flipped on their head. I think PSG coming into this one, they probably just assumed that with the Zeri late game and with the Hanabi, they could just play on the sides and kind of kite everything out, but Beyond Gaming were way too decisive. Like, I just can't believe how many times their monkey and their mummy is able to find the engage on Zeri. That's it was so weird to watch because I gave that game by the late game, it was definitely a 70-30 in PSG's favor, in my opinion, because I don't see how they get across the front line. I just think it's impossible, but every time they do it, so what can I say? This is why I love Beyond Gaming. I've said this so many times, Beyond Gaming, one of my favorite teams to watch because they make the impossible actually happen.
And part of that came down to also the early Dragon Soul, right? With the Mountain Soul, the extra resistance stats, with the items that they were building, they were able to get access into the back line because of that extra durability. we'll get to see some of these highlight moments.
Mm.
I believe this was the third dragon
Yeah,
coming
there are
in.
so many fights around this corner, so it's kind of hard to tell which one exactly this one. Oh, good Ultra Shock Laser. I thought this was going to be a fight PSG were going to be able to win afterwards. They chased up the
this
ramp.
was the
Ramp play.
Overforce.
Yeah, like
And
Minji goes down
honestly,
5v4.
This was a brilliant turn coming in from BYG. Unfortunately for PSG, they miss key CC moments onto Wako, and they get hard punished for that. The side of BYG, like, this was just smallest of margins where it could have just been BYG or PSG really getting full control over the game if they had landed that CC onto Wako, kill him off at the start, and then they would have absolutely steamrolled the rest of this fight.
Oh, and this one was another 5v4. They were trying to engage without the Mega Gnar, but watch how Kino turns this one around. And Minji goes in. It was actually Minji, my fault. Goes in with the 4-man, and what was that bandage toss through Bury? Wow! Oh, the angle on that was insane.
And it was just multiple engages coming in from BYG. That was 3 4-man ults. We saw it coming in from Husha. We saw it coming in from Kino. And at that last moment, we also saw it coming in from Minji.
Oh, watch this.
These players have stepped up to the plate time and time again. Push comes to shove. And the MVP really could go to anyone except for Lee Kai. Anyone on the side of BYG because of the big plays they did come out with. I mean, sorry, Lee Kai, you already got your moment game 1.
Yeah. You done good. You done good. No problem there. I swear that's the thinnest bandage shots I've ever seen. Kino done a great job. Look at that gold graph. At most, PSG were up about 6,000 gold. They were up about 6,000 gold twice in this game with those Barons. Could not close it out in the end. Beyond Gaming now looking at game point and punching their ticket to Worlds with just one more game. This is where I feel like we see the true character of PSG. They are so experienced. Corgi just won Worlds last year. They've always represented the PCS. So when the pressure is on, when the new players on this team are going to be tested, can PSG turn up a better performance? We're going to find out really soon, but of course, Kino with the MVP here. I love the support play. The pinpoint accuracy on the mummy gives him this award.
And Kino on the Mumu, it's not like he had an easy job either, because he has to land those bandage tosses to actually get access into the fight to then use the ultimate. And for him, he was, again, nailed these bandage tosses time and time again, getting into range for the Curse of the Sad Mummy. And if you land a bandage toss, you're going to hit multiple people with that ultimate afterwards.
Just one word for PSG. What will you say they changed? Just one word.
One phrase? I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, well, I'm not sure either. We're going to go to break. Afterwards, we'll see if Frank has something else for us.